Welcome to my 1000 Topic English channel. Today, we'll be learning an English story to enhance our listening and writing skills. Subscribe now and join us as we explore amazing English words, vocabulary, and grammar to help you grow and succeed. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Drop a comment below and let us know what you'd love to see next. It was a cold, gray afternoon in late November, the kind of day where the sky hangs low and heavy, threatening rain but never quite delivering. The streets were slick with the morning's drizzle, and the air carried the sharp bite of winter creeping in. I was walking home from work, my hands buried deep in the pockets of my coat, my breath forming little clouds in front of me. I wasn't in any particular hurry, just another day, another routine. But sometimes, life has a way of interrupting the ordinary with something extraordinary. I was passing by the park near my apartment when I noticed her. An elderly woman, hunched over on a bench, her shoulders trembling. At first, I thought she was crying. But as I got closer, I realized she was shivering violently. She wore a thin coat, far too light for the weather, and her hands clutched a tattered grocery bag. Her face was pale, her lips tinged with blue, and her eyes darted around as if searching for something or someone. My first instinct was to keep walking. I told myself she was fine, that someone else would help her, that I didn't want to intrude. But something about the way she sat there, so small and alone, tugged at me. I hesitated, my feet slowing as I wrestled with myself. Finally, I turned and walked toward her. "Ma'am?" I said softly, not wanting to startle her. "Are you okay?" She looked up at me, her eyes wide and watery. For a moment, she didn't speak. Then, in a voice so faint I had to lean in to hear her, she said, I can't find my way home." Her words hit me like a punch to the chest. There was something so vulnerable about her, so lost. I crouched down so I was at eye level with her. "Where do you live?" I asked gently. She frowned, her brow furrowing as if trying to recall. I don't remember," she whispered. "I went out to get groceries, and now I don't know where I am." My heart ached for her. I glanced around the park, but it was nearly empty. Just a few joggers in the distance and a man walking his dog. No one seemed to notice her, or if they did, they didn't care. I knew I couldn't leave her there. "It's okay," I said, trying to sound reassuring. "We'll figure it out together. My name's Sam." "What's yours?" "Edith," she said, her voice trembling. "Edith Harper." "Well, Edith," I said, forcing a smile, "let's get you somewhere warm, okay? You must be freezing." She nodded, though she looked uncertain. I helped her to her feet, noticing how frail she felt, how unsteady. Her grocery bag slipped from her hands, spilling a few cans and a loaf of bread onto the ground. I quickly gathered them up and handed the bag back to her. "Here," I said, "let me carry that for you." She clutched the bag tightly as if it were the only thing anchoring her to reality. I offered her my arm, and she leaned on me as we walked slowly out of the park. My mind raced as I tried to figure out what to do next. Should I call the police? Take her to a hospital? I didn't know if she had family nearby or if she lived alone. All I knew was that I couldn't leave her out in the cold. A warm cup of tea, I decided to take her to the small cafe on the corner, a cozy little place with warm lighting and the smell of freshly baked bread wafting through the air. As we stepped inside, Edith's eyes lit up, and she let out a small sigh of relief. I guided her to a table near the window and helped her sit down. "What do you like to drink?" I asked. "Tea? Coffee?" "Tea," she said softly. "With a little sugar, please." I ordered 2 cups of tea and a plate of buttered toast, figuring she might be hungry. When I returned to the table, she was staring out the window, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. She looked so small, so fragile, like a bird with a broken wing. "Here you go," I said, setting the tea in front of her. "Careful, it's hot." She wrapped her hands around the cup, savoring the warmth. "Thank you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "You're very kind." I smiled, though I didn't feel particularly kind. I just couldn't imagine walking away from someone in need. As we sat there, sipping our tea, I tried to piece together what had happened. Edith told me she had gone out to buy groceries but had gotten confused on her way back. She couldn't remember her address or how to get home. She didn't have a phone, and she didn't know anyone's number to call for help. "Do you have family nearby?" I asked gently. She shook her head. "My husband passed away years ago," she said. "And my son, he lives in another state. I don't see him much." My heart sank. She was all alone. I knew I had to do something, but I wasn't sure what. Then I remembered the lanyard around her neck, tucked beneath her coat. It had a small plastic card attached to it. I leaned forward slightly. "Edith, what's that around your neck?" She looked down, as if she had forgotten it was there. "Oh," she said, pulling it out. "It's my," she squinted at the card, her hands trembling. "I can't read it." I gently took the card from her and turned it over. It was an ID badge with her name, address, and an emergency contact number. Relief washed over me. "Edith," I said, "this has your address on it. And a phone number. Is it okay if I call it?" She nodded, her eyes filling with tears. "Yes, please." A reunion. I dialed the number on the card, my hands shaking slightly. After a few rings, a man's voice answered. "Hello?" "Hi," I said, "my name's Sam. I'm with Edith Harper. She's a little lost, but she's safe. I found her in the park, and she gave me this number." There was a pause, and then the man, Edith's son, let out a shaky breath. "Oh, thank God," he said. "We've been so worried. She has dementia, and she wandered off this morning. We've been looking everywhere for her." I felt a lump rise in my throat. "She's okay," I said. "She's with me at the cafe on the corner of Maple and Fifth. Can you come get her?" Yes, of course," he said. "I'll be there in 10 minutes. Thank you so much." "Thank you." When I hung up, Edith was watching me, her eyes wide and anxious. "Is he coming?" she asked. "Yes," I said, smiling. "Your son's on his way. He'll be here soon." Her face lit up, and for the first time since I'd met her, she smiled. It was a small, fragile smile, but it was enough to make my heart swell. The aftermath: when Edith's son arrived, he rushed to her side, his face a mixture of relief and guilt. "Mom," he said, his voice breaking. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." Edith reached up and touched his face, her hands trembling. "It's okay," she said. "I'm okay." He turned to me, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you," he said. "I don't know how to thank you enough." I shook my head. "I'm just glad I could help." As they left the cafe, Edith turned to me one last time. "Thank you, Sam," she said. "You're a good person." I watched them go, a strange mix of emotions swirling inside me. I didn't feel like a hero, I'd just done what anyone would do. But as I walked home that evening, the cold air biting at my cheeks, I realized something: helping someone, even in a small way, can change everything. For Edith, it meant finding her way home. For me, It was a reminder that kindness matters, that we're all connected, and that sometimes, the simplest acts can have the biggest impact. Reflections in the days that followed, I couldn't stop thinking about Edith. I wondered how often people like her, vulnerable, alone, and forgotten, were overlooked in our busy lives. I thought about how easy it would have been for me to keep walking that day, to tell myself it wasn't my problem. But I didn't, and because of that, I had made a difference, however small. I also thought about Edith's son and the guilt he carried. It made me realize how important it is to care for our loved ones, especially as they age. Life is fragile, and time is fleeting. We don't always get second chances. That experience changed me. It made me more aware of the people around me, more willing to reach out and help, even when it's inconvenient or uncomfortable. It reminded me that we're all just trying to find our way home, and sometimes, we need someone to light the path.